You have to be careful what celebrations you attend. People are watching you, they are watching your life because you are the follower of Christ that they know. You're supposed to be an example, right? You're not supposed to be God for them. You're not their God, but they are looking at your life. They have not been called to the walk with Christ that you've been called to. They have not been drawn to God by the measure that God has drawn you to Him. And they're watching you. So when they invite you to their same sex wedding, your presence looks like approval. When they invite you to the baby shower, the gender reveal, when they are just in this boyfriend, girlfriend, living together situation, your presence looks like approval. When you know that they divorced their spouse just because their spouse were no longer who they wanted, or they felt like they wanted to move on with somebody else and just be happy, and you're going to their gatherings and going on double dates with them, your presence looks like approval. When you are showing up at churches, when you know the pastors are more focused on their identity in a fraternity than their identity as a follower of Christ, your presence looks like approval. I'm not saying we got to walk perfect. We can't walk perfect. It's not going to happen, right? But you have to be okay with hurting their feelings if you don't show up. You got to be okay. You got to love them enough to hurt their feelings. You got to love them enough to be okay with their feelings being hurt if you don't show up. When I was 17, I had a baby. I was pregnant at 17, pregnant at 16. I don't even remember. So long ago. Y'all, I'm old. I'm up here. But I had a baby at 17. And I remember, I don't even know if the people in my circle did it on purpose, but they balanced so well, not celebrating me and still supporting me. So there were no big baby shower celebrations. There were no people saying, "Oh, you having a baby? This is so great." There was no people doing that. There were some people who spoke down to me about being a teenage mom, but for the most part, the people in my circle, God allowed them to show me that they were not happy with my decision, but that they were not going to leave me alone in this. They loved me. People bought a bunch of stuff for us. I remember my house, my living room, my mom's living room being full of stuff. People bought the baby things. People came by and brought money, you know. But yet and still nobody was saying, that it was a great thing, that you're fine. People were saying, listen, this is kind of rough, but listen, I've been here. You're going to be okay. It's going to be rough because this is not how God designed you to do it, but it's still going to be okay. We're not going to leave you in it by yourself, but we ain't going to celebrate you either. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I was able to feel the sting of the consequence of sin and still not feel like it's over right here, right? Still feel like we're going to be okay. And we were, we were okay. God allowed us to be okay. It was not easy, but God was with us every step of the way. So just to go back, you are the light. You are a bright, brilliant light that God has called to holiness. You have a responsibility to shine light in dark places. And do not translate that as, I'm going to show up to be light in this situation. That is a celebration. Your light is not, because you're not going to show up at that celebration wagging your finger and screaming in somebody's face. You're not going to do that, right? Because then we got a whole different, that's a whole nother video. You're not going to do that. You're going to just be absent unless God calls you unless they call and say whatever, but you're not going to be a part of it. You're not going to have your presence there as if you approve. You're going to make it clear that you love them. You're going to make it clear that there will not be a point when they need you and you won't be there. But you are going to also make it clear that their actions do not line up with biblical principles, so you cannot support it. And hopefully you have people in your life who will also not support you, right? I'm so glad that I have people that will call me on the carpet and be like, you know what? I know you might feel like that's okay. And I understand. Y'all know I get to rambling. Anyway, we can understand why people do things and still not like, I understand why you did that because that's kind of rough and whatever else. But don't be run by your feelings. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting off subject. I'm rambling. Be careful what celebrations you attend. People are watching your life. Your presence is translated as approval. All right? Read your Bible. Make it visible.